Okay, so welcome to the first of our tutorials in Inventor 2021. Simple tutorials, just going to be looking at the interface, the different terminology, how to do a basic setup, and just navigate around Inventor 2021. So let's jump straight on in and see what we can do. Okay, so we're here in Inventor, and you may have a slightly different window if this is the first time that you've opened up Inventor. It may offer you some sort of tutorial. Once you don't have to do those, you can just cancel that, and you should be brought to a window that looks something similar to this. Very dependent on your screen size, will depend on the layout. But the first thing we want to do is, because Inventor is an American program, is set it up for British and metric standards, or international standards and metric. So you're looking for a tab that looks like it's got advanced on it, and then there's a cog, and this is our configure default template. If you click that default template cog, you just want to make sure it's set up for millimeters and ISO standards, and then just click OK once you've selected those. I'll cancel out of this. Now, there's four main areas within Inventor. The part file is where we create all of our individual parts. These can be complex parts, and actually you can design in Inventor multiple parts in one, and then you can then export them out and it will break it down into the individual parts. You just got to make sure they're done as individual solids, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Once you've created all your parts in 3 dimensions, you then bring them into an assembly to bring them all together and create some sort of motion constraint if that's required. The other area is our drawing area. Now this is be familiar if you've done AutoCAD, and this area is where we create our 2-dimensional drawings from our individual parts or assemblies. And this is to create our sort of standard template, our 2-dimensional drawings with our annotations that can be then issued to, for instance, the shop floor, so that they can be manufactured. The fourth area is the presentation area, and this area you can create exploded views, do some animations that you may want to then use in, say, a presentation to your line manager or an investor or whatever it might be, but you can do that within the presentation area. So we'll jump straight on and look at our parts file area, and what that looks like and the different terms within there. So here we are, this is where we create our part files, and straight away we'll just run through some of the various different areas. So along the top here we've got our tabs, so 3D model, sketch, annotate, inspect, and these are all our different tabs, and when you click through these tabs you'll be given different options below it. So if we go back to our 3D model space, now the options, this is what's classed as our ribbon panel, and these are our different panels within our ribbon panel, so our sketch, create, explore, work features, modify. So those are the different panels in our ribbon panel. And then within each ribbon or each panel, there is our tools. So our tool is fillet, chamfer, draft, revolve, extrude, sweep, loft. So we have our tabs, our ribbon panel, our panels, and then our tools. And then down on our left hand side here is our tree, and this is our tree of functions. So as we build up our different tools, they will appear in this tree of functions going down the left hand side, and this makes it very, very easy to edit our components that we're trying to make. Now it's always tempting to think, okay, we can just draw straight away in 3 dimensions, but in Inventor every drawing or every part file will start with a two-dimensional sketch. And that's very, very simple. You just click the tool 2D Sketch. And you'll be given these three planes that you can choose to which plane you want to start on. And it's very, very dependent on the part that you're making. It will be dependent on which plane you use. I quite often go for the horizontal XZ plane, but again it's very dependent. So I'm going to just select, once it goes green, I'll just left click and select that horizontal XZ plane. And you can see straight away that our tools have changed, our tabs have changed, our ribbon panel has changed, our panels have changed, and our tools have changed, so that we can work in this is working in a two-dimensional space. You'll also be used to the view cube on the right hand side, which is exactly the same as what's found in AutoCAD, and you'll have some series of pan, zoom, rotate, three-dimensional free orbit as it's called in Inventor on the right hand side, and this tab here you can move up and down depending on if you need to. When I'm starting a two-dimensional sketch, I always like to have it rotated so that it's orientated correctly. This is really important when we start using these dimensions and constraints functions, because it's sometimes you need to know that which is the horizontal axis and which is the vertical axis. So what we'll do is we'll just go straight and we'll actually draw a basic line, and you'll see how actually intuitive it is. Now within Inventor, we don't have object snaps and we don't have this ortho mode that we had in AutoCAD. It predicts what you want to do quite efficiently. So I'm just going to start by drawing a line, and you'll see that once it gets to vertical, it actually sort of snaps to the vertical, and if you go to the horizontal, it'll also snap to the horizontal. The other thing is, so I'll just do a vertical line, any length. Once you've completed, then it will give you another line that you can draw again, and it will snap to our horizontal or our vertical, depending on if that's what you want, or it will just go to any angle at any length. So we'll snap to our 90 degree, and we'll just do continue some sort of random shape. Now we have this predictive mode as well, so you can see here it's predicting that we might want to complete this shape, and it gives us this dotted line to show that we're at exactly the same height as the line on the left hand side. You can go higher if you want, or you can come back and then it will find that predicted height again, and then I'll just left click, and then I'm just going to come across and join up the shape and to join it up, you'll see that the little green circle, or the little circle's gone green to say it's snapped on to that end point. So it's now completed it, and that's our two-dimensional shape. You can see here that there's some constraints that are already straight away put in because of the way that you've drawn it. We'll come back to constraints in much more detail in the future. So when you're happy that you've finished your two-dimensional drawing, what you do is you finish your sketch, and then just zoom out a bit. And you can see here on the left hand side we have this tree now, and we have this sketch, which is sketch 1. We can, if you slow click twice on it with left click, you can rename it. So you can rename it to whatever you want. So I'll just call it part 1 or sketch 1. Or you can do whatever you want. I'll keep it as part 1. And then just click off the area, and you can just rename it. It's quite handy to rename these as you go. Not always important to rename the sketches, but certainly when you get into the solids, then it'd be important to rename those. So the first thing we're going to do is just extrude it, just to do a basic extrusion. And as soon as I click this, we'll get another window pop up, which will help us choose what we want to extrude. So here's the pop-up. You can already see that straight away it's predicted that there's only one shape, so we most probably want to extrude that shape. If that is incorrect and there may be multiple shapes and you want to pick another one, you can actually just choose whichever one you want by clearing the selection here in Profiles, and then click the Select Profiles, and then just select the profile that you want to extrude, and it should turn green. And once you are happy, left click, and that allows you to extrude that profile. Now there's various different ways of extruding it. So in our direction here, we can extrude it vertically upwards, we can go vertically downwards, we can go symmetrically around the drawing, or we could go asymmetrically around the drawing. And that's really useful because it might depend on what you actually want to do. We're just going to do a straight vertical default direction, and we can actually just plug in our 15mm, 20mm, or whatever we want to do into this distance A here, or we can drag the golden arrow vertically up and down, and that will give us the height. Or we can use one of the functions that appears next to it, which we could then select a face if we had something else that we wanted to extrude it to. And depending on how complex the drawing is, you might get a few other options here, but that will be useful to extrude to a given position. We'll just stick in 100mm and hit enter. And now what you can see is that our two-dimensional drawing, our sketch, has disappeared, and we've now got this extrusion 1. We haven't lost the drawing is still there. It's just part of the tree now that creates this extrusion. We can bring back the drawing if we want to, by right-clicking on it and turning on the visibility. And if we then rotate around the view, and to rotate around the view, depending on your mouse, you might have to come over here and use your orbit function, or if you hold down shift and then press your middle scroll wheel, you should be able to just orbit round quite nicely. And you can actually see the drawing, the sketch is highlighted in purple. The other thing you can do is that if it's not quite right for you, the sketch is not quite right, you can actually double click on the sketch and it will bring you back into the 2D sketch area, where you can change the measurements. You may be able to, depending on the drawing and how it's constrained, just drag the areas out and it will automatically then change your drawing. And once you're happy that you've changed your sketch, your drawing sketch, click Finish Sketch, and it will actually update the extrusion because this sketch forms part of this extrusion. I'll right click on the sketch again, turn off the visibility. I can collapse the tree, and I can also, if I want to, slow click twice on the extrusion and actually rename it again whatever I want. Now the other thing that's really important to remember is also our planes that we had originally are actually still here, you just can't see them. So in our origin here, if we open up this part of the tree, you can actually see our planes are all still there, they're just hidden. You may want to bring these in and out at various different times, and you can just select them, and if I use shift and hold shift down, I can select them to wherever I put the pointer, or I can select them individually and just right click on them and turn the visibility on, and there you have straight away is our plane, which is our YZ plane. Of course, we were using our horizontal plane, which was our XZ plane. So if I turn the visibility on, you can actually see straight away that the actual extrusion is sat directly on top of that plane. So the key thing to remember here is that every part that we want to draw is always going to start off with a 2D sketch on a given plane. And we'll go into those features in much more detail as we get more understanding of our interfaces in our drawings. So that's a brief introduction to just creating a single part and how we would start a sketch within Inventor. Come back for more tutorials as we go through all the different elements of Inventor 2021. So thanks for watching.